Hello guys, Matthew here and welcome back again to my channel. Not so long ago, ADATA was only involved in memory related products, your SSDs and RAM kits, and now they have a portfolio of gaming related peripherals for which their already established XPG sub-brand came in perfectly. Beside your high-end stuff, they also have more affordable budget and better value for your money products, and two of those stand here in front of me, the Emix H20 gaming headset and the Infarex M20 gaming mouse. At around $25 for the mouse and around $35 for the headset, they seem to be a pretty compelling choice, at least price-wise. The Infarex M20 carries Omron switches and what seems to be a decent 5000 dpi optical sensor, so it's a pretty reasonable product for that price point, but right off the bat I'm noticing that it's somewhat heavy at around 160 grams. That could be due to RGB LEDs which are set around the bottom edge and few other spots on the mouse. As for its design and aesthetics, this shape reminds me a bit of the SteelSeries older rival model, but then again a lot of mice have this very similar sort of generic looking design, nothing too flashy or over the top, just supporting this simple plain design with the goal of being useful before all. The build quality is actually pretty decent, again considering the price point, it feels sturdy enough in hands, just what you would expect from a $25 mouse. The middle wheel has this on and off rubber pattern, which makes it really grippy, and it has this subtle tactile movement between each step, while it's also light and easy to move and has a very firm middle click feel to it. The USB cable is just below 2 meters long, it's completely braided and pretty rigid, while they've also used this really beefy housing around the USB connector itself. The mouse itself is driverless and softwareless, so you won't get any additional control over its functions in Windows, which is something that I personally don't mind having, but I like how they've included a dedicated switch on the bottom for the pulling rate with 250, 500 and 1000 Hz setting, and another switch for turning off the LEDs. Again, as expected, since it doesn't have any software utility, the LEDs are not customizable and they can only change according to the DPI and its switch on the top, which range goes from 400 to 5000 DPI with total of 5 steps. You will get your set of standard switches, as I mentioned earlier, those being Omron ones, 2 on the side, back and forward, and 2 on the top, your left and right clicks, and using them feels very direct, virtually no travel at all, and without that mushy feel. As for the ergonomics of the mouse, it fits just fine in my what I think is a pretty normally sized hand, although you could say that it's leaning more toward being a larger example of a mouse by today's standards, as it's a tad longer than for example my G403, but bottom line I would say that it's a good choice for palm and claw grip style users. 3 Teflon feet on the bottom are making sure that the mouse glides without a problem, which goes along with the fact that the mouse sensor can achieve decent velocity, while it also seems to be very precise and has a good tracking performance. The lift-off distance is really low, there's basically no angle snapping nor unwanted acceleration, and overall I had zero complaints whatsoever during gameplay, except that it's a bit on the heavier side as I said before, so all in all when you draw the line you'll get a pretty compelling performance from a mouse that costs less than an iPhone charger. Just a quick side note, the exact sensor brand and model in question is still a mystery for me as I didn't manage to find any information about it, but if you come across anything on it, please be sure to leave it in the comment section down below. Pulling the headset out of the box, the build quality seems to be on par with the mouse. It's mostly made out of plastic, but it feels rigid enough. The headband has a decent range of adjustability. It has some flex to it since it doesn't use any metal rails or chassis. The ear cups also have the ability to rotate to a certain degree in one direction, so you can find that position which suits your head shape the best. While their padding is made out of this leather-like artificial material, it's soft and comfortable enough for longer periods, especially since the headset doesn't have a large amount of lateral pressure and the ear cups will cover up your both ears. On the top beneath the headband you will find some padding, just the right amount I would say, since the headset isn't too heavy to begin with. It also has this very thick, sturdy and nicely braided and patterned cable, along of which you'll find a dedicated controller for the volume, mute and turning the RGB lighting on and off. As for it, you'll get this pretty cool looking pattern on the ear cup, while the only complaint I have about it is that it only runs in this sort of like different color pulsing cycling mode, just like the mouse, and that's pretty much it. You can only turn it off or on and nothing more. Based on this, you can also guess that this headset is completely driverless and softwareless, just plug and play, and although this in a way is a practical thing, I would still like to see an added software utility for it, especially since it only has USB connection, and with that we would get a more detailed control over its lighting, sound and other features. The microphone boom arm is positioned on the left ear cup. You can bring it up or down, but that doesn't also mute it, although you would expect or like to have that option, but rather you have a dedicated switch for that, as I've mentioned before. It's really flexible as the middle part of it is made out of this rubber material, while the microphone end sits enclosed in this plastic housing. The microphone itself is actually pretty decent recording quality wise. I was really surprised by it considering the price, but it has a few very interesting problems, and because of that I feel like this was a missed opportunity in a way. One of the problems is that it easily picks up other sounds rather than just your voice, like for example typing on the keyboard, which is a common issue, while for the other problem it's best that you hear it for yourself in the following sample. This is a raw, unedited recording sample made using the Emix H20 headset's microphone. Do you hear how my voice is unnaturally deep? Yeah, I didn't want to mention that right off the bat, just so you can have that surprise factor. And no, I didn't change anything or modified anything. I think we just have some kind of very weird type of post-processing going on here, almost like some kind of voice changing app. Also, I'm going to start typing on the keyboard so you can hear how it picks that up. So, what are your thoughts on this microphone? Is it good for the price? Would you use it, or is this just too much for you? Feel free to tell me in the comments down below. Get to the comment section. Sticking to the topic of sound, to be completely honest, I wasn't too impressed by what was coming out of the ear cups. They really went all in on the low frequencies. It's a bit too much bass to handle, at least for me, but it also really affects everything that comes through the headset's pair of 50mm drivers, especially when it comes to music listening. The highs and mids feel a bit muffled because of that. I managed to polish out the sound profile to a degree with some third-party software utility, but I wish they did a better job of that initial tuning of the driver itself. In the end, this wasn't a big problem when it comes to gaming. I had a decent experience when it comes to that part of the user experience, while the virtual 7.1 surround sound, for what it's worth, does an okay job in picking up the enemies. Circling back to my initial thought from the beginning of the video, I still think both of these products bring in a very decent value, but the problem is that this part of the market is pretty saturated already, so they'll have to put up quite a good fight in order to win users. Of course, they can, for a fraction of the cost, if any, also improve their existing products, like these ones, once they decide to release their successors based on the feedback we give them, and this way they'll ensure better chance of their products being purchased in the end. That's it for this time from me. Thank you once again for watching. Toss me a thumbs up if you enjoyed my content. That really helps me a lot. And if you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe. And if you already are, be sure to press that notification bell down below so you don't miss out on a new video. And until then, catch you later, guys.